Welcome to another scriptural study. In fact, another scriptural word and scriptural astronomical calendar study, in which we are going to explore the question, what's your perspective as compared to Yahuwah? As an example, what is my perspective when I look at the sun, moon, and stars as compared to when Yahuwah looks at them? Again, this scriptural study is for Bereans who search and receive the word daily with great eagerness to see if these things are so. So as we go through this scriptural study, and as always, stop the video at any time to focus on the scriptural word and etymological backup, and the evidence and or sun, moon, and stars light witnesses from an astronomical and empirical standpoint. And again, focus by stopping the video at any time to really look at this information. If you do not have a PC, a full view screen on a personal computer, and are using just an iPad and our mobile phone, we also include all of the visuals from this scriptural study video in the description box of this particular and latest study. And as always, if you are on a PC, iPad, or mobile phone, ensure that you have it configured or placed on full screen mode. Because we have just finished two videos called Hanok's Waning Moon and Can New Moon Day Be on Different Days Revisited. And we are having some challenges keeping up with all the feedback, and it's been fabulous. People are seeing this for the first time, and some people that have known about it for many years are now seeing how to explain it in a very easy way. And this is why we did Enoch's waxing moon, just delightful as well. So this next clip is the final installment of these two, and it further explains why New Moon Day is on the same day everywhere for everyone. This scriptural study has three categories. They are listed here. And the first category is Yahuwah's thoughts versus our perspective or perspectives. It talks about management conflict and how to manage controversy when it does arise. So that's the first category. The second category is, what does it mean to be steadfast? These two scriptural passages are utilized many times, but there usually is no etymology or definition in the original scriptural context to explain what steadfast or steadfastness actually is, especially as it relates to the moon. And then in Psalms 104, verse 19, appointed times, and the sun knows it's going down. So we're going to get into those two verses. And then we're going to test those two categories, proving everything with the actual lights, the witnesses of light from the sun, the moon, and the stars. And this takes patience for those who understand why it's so important to wait upon Yahuwah with all of his witnesses of light that we can actually forecast with from the past, present, and into the future very easily, and then test and prove outside in creation. So without further ado, on to these three categories, starting off with category 1, Yahuwah's thoughts versus our perspective and or perspectives. Again, focused on how to utilize the sun, moon, and stars to tell time, appointed times, new moon days, feast days, Sabbath days, etc., let alone the signs that they produce, as compared to the jigs that we are creating today. So again, a jig is a type of custom-made tool used to control the location and or motion of parts or other tools. And we've all seen these types of jigs, starting with the darkness, with the middle part being the light, and then the finish being the darkness, going from left to right. And we've seen some of them go from right to left, and we see some of them going in circles, either counterclockwise or clockwise. Well, what are the challenges with this type of approach? So we covered some of this in this video, Enoch, numbering our days with Enoch's 15 waning parts of the moon, because Many people wait for the conjunction to find out if they're on track, whether they're full moon believers, crescent moon believers, let alone conjunction moon believers. Some people wait for the 22nd day right here. Half moons, shadows, darkness, rather than looking forward, never looking back, looking forward towards the light as the Messiah, Yahuwah, taught us. Again, these jigs cause many, many challenges, as even this scriptural study video, Hanok's waxing moon of 13 parts, explain further. So again, these types of jigs are created by presumptuous ones. We're not judging anybody. I did these things. I used to use a Roman calendar, square calendar, and I would put moon phases on it, and it caused problems. We're going to explain those problems and challenges as it relates to getting the days right. So the focus of the scriptural study video here is a jig going in a counterclockwise fashion, and the thinking is excellent. Again, Scripture was originally written from right to left. If you go outside and you're looking to the north, then you will see the moon move in a counterclockwise fashion, let alone the sun and stars. But again, this individual using this jig is only a lunar-only model. Does not show the sun and or the stars. It's a one-witness approach. This jig goes clockwise. It's a lunar solar jig. And again states that a day has 12-hour daylight, when in fact that's not the case. As well, we are not judging anyone. We utilized these tools at one time and or another years ago. We always approach these studies with the mindset that everyone is better than ourselves, let alone myself. We are not judging anyone. We are talking about light. The thing with circular jigs, counterclockwise jigs, they originate from Egypt and called the Circle of Isis. And they usually come with a 360-day calendar concept. And here is right from any encyclical documentation or record you can find. The new Egyptian calendar had only 360 days in a year, and the discrepancy was soon noticed. What discrepancy? Well, a year is 365.25 days from a solar standpoint. To adjust the calendar, 5 days were added at the end of the 360-day year in the pharaonic times. This 365-day calendar was in effect for more than 3,000 years of pharaohs until 238 before the Common Era. So again, this is just basic research from a historical documentation standpoint, let alone an archaeological standpoint. Furthermore, a day does not have 12 hours of daylight every day. Even on a spring equinox, it's not equal 12 hours and equal 12 nighttime hours. Hanok explained it this way: 18 parts. So some days in the winter months would have less day parts, and in the winter would have more night parts. In the summer, more day parts, less night parts. And the question is Hanok had a different vantage point or viewpoint. He was brought up into the heavens to see all of this. So what did he see? Did he see a counterclockwise motion, or did he see a clockwise motion? That is the heart and soul of this scriptural study. Furthermore, when you're looking at circle jigs, they revolve around what's called merchant calendars. And I've been in business for 34 years before I retired in the supply chain. And the constant push from the world, I worked with many countries and many institutions from the financial sector. I was in the supply chain, worked for UPS and DHL for over 34 years out of those two corporations. And you learn really quick that the 360-day calendar is a method of measuring durations used in financial markets. So there's a benefit in doing so. And if you're keeping up with things in this world, you'll understand why they want to do this once again, like they did in Egypt. So the more that things change, the more they stay the same. Merchant calendars, because it's regrettable. People that say from the Psalms that the moon is steadfast and established forever are also proposing, well, it's not that steadfast, is it? Because the calendar today is wrong and it's going to go to a 360 one day. The only reason any calendar is going to go to 360 is right here, if you're awake and understand what drives this world as compared to what YaHUwah actually does. Furthermore, a sunrise day start and these 12-hour day jigs are all backed up by Rome with their sign. Easter Sunday, they go to the beach and watch the sunrise, and they bow down to it. And Ezekiel, chapter 8, verse 16, had many things to say about this, let alone the other topics in Scripture, as backed up by the historical record and archaeological record about Tammuz worship. So, again, we're not judging anyone. We're just drawing out what actually exists, reality. Now, here could be considered a jig as well. It is a two-dimensional view, and it goes counterclockwise with a day start at the dawn, and then, which is the fourth watch, finishing at sunrise, going all the way through the daylight period into sunset, the evening or Areb, and then proceeding into the first, second, third watch, and again, the fourth watch starts the new day. A sunrise and sunset mindset is what we call the leaven from a scriptural standpoint. The Egyptians had a sunrise day start, and the Babylonians had a sunset day start, and it caused many challenges, just like it does today. And why we are to come out of Egypt and Babylon, remove the sun pillars. Again, YaHUwah will deliver us from the land of confusion, the land of sunrise, and from the land of sunset. And this is why we do not need to utilize any type of jig for a sunrise and our sunset day start. Again, check out Shemesh. Shemesh is the actual word for the sun, and it is used for sunrise and sunset, and it is a Babylonian deity based on the historical and archaeological records. So, from your vantage point, as compared to YaHUwah, what do your eyes see versus what does YaHUwah see? Now, YaHUwah sees everything. He sees all as per Scripture. But when it comes to the sun, moon, and stars and telling time, as per Psalms chapter 90, verse 12, what is the importance of this question? Counterclockwise or clockwise? Or number 3, both? Because we utilize the sun, moon, and stars, all 3 witnesses of light to tell time. And as we know, in Job chapter 38, we know that Ursa Major with its 2 suns goes around the North Star every day in a counterclockwise fashion in 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4.09 seconds. So in a 365.25 solar day year, multiplied by that time every day, equates to 364 days in time per year, as it states in the book of Hanok and the book of Jubilees, and has nothing to do with 12 hours of daylight. So we're going to look at this from a dawn scriptural day start standpoint, and we've shared the hundreds of scriptural verses that prove this, let alone many other items from a photograph and film footage standpoint as well. Because pride is concerned with who is right, humility is concerned with what is right. We believe New Moon Day is for everyone, everywhere, on the same day. Again, timekeeping is the action or process of recording how long something takes. And YaHUwah is steadfast. His moon, his sun, and his stars move at a certain speed that's reliable. You can count on it. You can trust it. It's steadfast. So let's get into that. So when we look at this, we always see some controversy, and some conflict always comes up. The weakness or weaknesses of a human perspective is obvious, as it relies on each of our abilities to imagine or take another person's perspective accurately. Now, it doesn't mean that person's perspective is correct. All it means is you're taking the time to attempt to understand what they're attempting to share with you. And if you don't have scriptural compassion, then the mental gymnastics of putting yourself in someone else's shoes isn't going to make you any more accurate. In fact, it might even decrease your accuracy. And we call this perspective management or conflict management because we fully realize pride is concerned with who is right. Whether this is a vase, as we can see here in the middle, or it's a picture of two faces is irrelevant. The point is who drew it and what was the individual who drew it, the creator of this image, intending to say it was. Was it a picture of two faces, one on the left, one on the right, or was it a vase in the middle? Or was it both? Remember, humility is concerned with what is right, not who is right. And thus why we ask ourselves to be kept away from presumptuous ones. We don't want them to rule over us. We want to be perfect and innocent of great transgression and these non-value added debates. Because Yahuwah said in Genesis or Bereshith, chapter 6, verse 3, and Yahuwah said, my spirit shall not strive with man forever in his going astray. There's no reason for this type of activity. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 3 states, for you are still fleshly. For since there is envy and strife and divisions among you, are you not fleshly and walking according to man? So again, this picture is either two faces, one on the left, one on the right, and or a vase in the middle, or intended by the creator of the drawing to be both. That is the humble approach. And thus why the apostle Shaul, or emissary, had stated in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. There's no point. You can come to a conclusion on any matter to establish truth, absolute truth, empirical truth. And furthermore, our Father of lights states, come now and let us reason together. It doesn't say let's find two people reasoning together. Reason together with YaHUaH, because when you do, you won't have a subjective approach. You'll have an objective approach, a concrete approach to test and prove rather than arguing. Again, subjective approaches are information, and it's usually based on personal opinion, judgment, feelings, or point of view in the case of this visual. The objective approach, the Hebraic approach, is objective information, witnesses, evidence, which is factual, and based on observations and measurements. There are many words in the English language that sound very similar but have completely opposite meanings. One of the examples is the subjective versus objective pair. With only a couple of letters different, these two words are actually antonyms. They're opposite. So again, there is no need for this type of activity, especially with the sun, moon, and stars, because feelings aren't facts. They're just feelings. Feelings have a place. But when it comes to testing and proving what day you're on with the sun, moon, and stars, people have to realize that it's not a subjective approach that will get you home. It's an objective approach, a concrete Hebraic approach. Here's another little visual. Just because you're right doesn't mean I'm wrong. You just haven't seen my life from my side. So one person looking at this number sees a 6. The other person seeing the same number sees a 9. It is generally accepted that to successfully manage and resolve conflict, it is important to try to see things from perspectives other than our own. Scripturally, we are advised to try to put ourselves in the other person's shoes and to look at the situation objectively. The two greatest commands, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. At least make an effort to find out why they're saying what they're saying. And when you find out what they're saying is based on feelings and subjective emotions, then you may make the decision to depart the conversation. But if you understand the individual from an objective standpoint, then you may have the opportunity to resolve controversy or the possible conflict that exists. And this is what's called perspective management or conflict management. And if you utilize the two greatest laws, love Yahuwah with all your heart, soul, and being, and love your neighbor as yourself, then usually works out extremely well because Yahuwah knows us. O Yahuwah, you have searched me and know me. You know my sitting down and my rising up. You understand my thought from afar. You sift my path and my lying down, and know well all my ways. So again, very easy to resolve this, right? With a little bit of patience and humility, scriptural patience, love, joy, peace, which produces patience, all the way up to self-control. This compassion approach then is what we call the good news guidance approach. Because if we are truly humble, we then can admit that our own point of view tends to be incomplete. Meaning, what we notice and how we interpret at times depends a great deal on our own personal experiences and current needs, desires. And furthermore, the Messiah YaHuaH stated and was recognized in the book of Hebrews, or Ibram chapter 4, verses 14 through 16. Therefore, since we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, YaHuaH, the son of YaHuwah, the Almighty Father of lights, let us hold fast our confession. For we do not have a high priest unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who was tried in all respects as we are, apart from sin. Therefore, let us come boldly to the throne of favor in order to receive compassion and find favor for timely help. So again, these silly debates can be resolved extremely quickly from a perspective management approach, or what we call conflict management, based on a belief in the two greatest laws. Here's another visual. One individual may see 4 beams where one individual sees 3. And the reason they see this is because they don't go outside to test and prove if it's actually 3 beams, actually pick it up, look at it, touch it physically, understand it. There's no testing and proving of all things. It's just dialogue. And regrettably, however, time and time again, human history has proven we are not very skilled at seeing things from a scriptural perspective, and or even other people's perspectives, even with a concerted effort. Regrettably, we often see things the way we personally want to see them, and thus we become far from accurate or truthful. In fact, in conflict situations, we are less likely to be accurate, as our conflict-related emotions tend to get in the way of us seeing things as they truly are. Again, feelings aren't facts, they're just feelings. There's a place for feelings, but again, when it comes to the sun, moon, and stars, it's just discernment. It's just empirical witnesses that can be measured and counted. So again, we call the conflict management skill sets is to understand what the vicious cycle is. So when you have 2 people arguing because of pride, or 3 people, 4 people, and or larger groups, this is what is called the vicious cycle. There is no goal to resolve the conflict. So in the scriptural studies, where some people are saying new moon days can be on different days, the goal is a vicious cycle. You'll never come to any resolution, and you'll always have this activity because there is no interest in testing and proving all things. The virtuous cycle states that, from a scriptural standpoint, that new moon days and Sabbath days are worship days, and all shall come to worship Yahuwah, as it relates to Yeshayahu, chapter 66, verse 23, etc. So the virtuous cycle will take the time. It will get up and test and prove how this actually works. Where the vicious cycle will say, no, it's on 2 different days, I'm right, you're wrong. So a little bit more on why this is a light on a lampstand. A sunrise and sunset start, the moon is not on a lampstand. It's not steadfast. It's not the steadfast witness at that point. Any valleys, building lines, mountains, tree lines, you can have some challenges, obviously, because on the first day of any given scriptural month, the moon will be anywhere from just below the horizon to a high of, as we've seen, 5 to 8 degrees, based on time zone. So, very simple to prove. But again, if you do not have an approach of conflict management, then you'll be satisfied with this type of activity, which is very orientated in world religions. Again, Scripture demands that we do not add and or take away from the witnesses, especially when it comes to the sun, moon, and stars. Many people, though, get up and jest and disprove rather than get up in the morning to test and prove. Two different approaches, getting two different results. So in this study, we're going to talk about the prophet Yeshayahu and why he wrote about YaHuwah, quoting Yahuwah stating, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares Yahuwah. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." This is why Hanok was brought up into the various levels of heaven, to get a different perspective than the vantage point from the earth, the face of the earth. Because Yahuwah is higher, he's in the heavens, and his thoughts are higher as well. His ways are higher. But presumptuous ones do not want to look at that. In fact, Hanok is obliterated. He's eliminated, just like the writings of Shaul. Because what happens is an individual's point of view or vantage point then has to be discussed. The individual might find out that their perspective presently from the earth may very well not be the same thoughts or perspective of our Father of Lights. Well, let's take a look at the word thoughts. And if you take a look at this word from this actual scriptural passage, it comes from the Strong's entry H2803, a contrivance, which is a skill that is concretely. It's a concrete skill. The use of skill to bring something about or create something. Well, our Father of Lights, the only self-existent one, is the creator. He is the master designer, and design demands a designer. And this word is known as makshaba. So that's right from the Strong's. And if we go farther into this study, the Brown Driver Briggs Hebrew and English lexicon states thought, a device, a thought, device, plan, a purpose, an invention. Time is an invention of our Father of Lights. Very simple to explain etymologically. The NSAB translation states design, designs, inventive, plan, plans, purposes, thoughts. Moving further, the Theological Word Book of the Old Testament, ingenious work, reckoning, account, measuring, account, invent, thought, device. Moving further, the root word from that word, thoughts, is kashab, to think, account, to plan, devise, mean, charge, impute, reckon, to esteem, value, regard. Notice the word esteem because it's about the purpose of something, of that machine, and the way it was designed to operate, to be steadfast, to be on time, everywhere, for everyone. Further, if you get into the Hebrew lexicon definitions with the Paleo-Hebrew from the Jeff Benner resource, you get entry 2213. The AB, the invention, the process of designing a pattern. So the sun, moon, and stars produce patterns that you can visually see. So there's a pattern for the first day of the first month of Abib, when the moon rules the whole night through, with stars aligned with Spica, and the end of Bethula, that Mazzaroth, aligned with Arcturus. In the house, the moon is ruling with a set of stars in the house, the light on a lampstand for all in the house to see. Now, you can't see that at sunset or sunrise. You can see it going after sunrise in the first watch, second, third watch, at the 180-degree mark, all the way to the fourth watch, the first light at dawn, where you see all of that, and then it starts to disappear going to sunrise. To esteem, to value this, value the purpose, to regard the purpose of the sun itself, the moon itself, and the stars, because it's ingenious work. It was invented by the designer, Yahuwah. So it's very interesting that Shaul, the apostle or emissary, defines esteem, the purpose of the sun. He knew it. And the esteem and purpose of the moon and why it was steadfast. And another esteem of the stars, because he knew the purpose of the stars had differences where the inner circle of the dome, Shamayim, had an inner circle, Ezekiel's wheel, and it moved at a certain speed. And then as you went out farther, a different speed. He knew the purpose and value of that as it related to timekeeping. So again, are you in the vicious cycle or the virtuous cycle? Because the virtuous cycle will take you into seeing a larger perspective than you may already have, thus helping to solidify absolute and or empirical truth or truths. So we can get away from this presumptuous activity. Again, pride is concerned with who is right. Humility is concerned with what is right. So this is why in Hanok's waning of 15 parts, some people say it's 14, but if you read the whole verse and understand how to count it the day after New Moon Day, you get to this particular day on the 16th day, including the day and nighttime period. And you'll understand even further why Hanok chapter 73, verse 8, with the waxing moon had 13 parts. Because he had a different perspective. He wasn't looking from the face of the earth. He was looking down towards the face of the earth. And that has a different perspective. It gives you a different vantage point. And these jigs do not draw any of that out. That's why they're problematic, and that's why we have done these scriptural study videos, and why we were embarrassed ourselves personally for getting caught up in this type of activity. It's baby steps. Everyone goes through it. So it says, trust in Yahuwah with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And this is why doing jigs is leaning on your own understanding, because it doesn't give you the full perspective of what can actually be understood to tell time. You can get away from being presumptuous. And thus the reason why, come now, let us reason together, says Yahuwah. Yahuwah doesn't say, now, come now, why don't you go reason with that assembly over there, and you guys go reason with that assembly over there, or that person. None of us are teachers. We only have one teacher, and that's the Messiah, Yahushua, our only teacher, Matthew chapter 23, verse 8. We are to think bigger using what? Yahuwah's witnesses, the sun, moon, and stars, when they can be seen and when they give the perspective of signs, which is not sunrise and sunset. We have to think bigger in order to prove all things. So again, we can get away from this very easily, and everyone does eventually. We are at peace with this. So when you see this, again, is it wrong? Counterclockwise? Well, lunar-only jig, definitely want to get rid of it because it's not giving you any perspective on the sun and or the stars, let alone how the moon rules with the stars, and a certain set of stars differently for each and every month. And you can get rid of this because it's not correct astronomically. There's 18 parts to a day, and even in this day and age, they teach in kindergarten, grade 1, 2, 3, and 4, that even on a spring equinox, it's not a complete equally 12-hour day or 12-hour night. So pretty basic. So we use the sun, moon, and stars, and we know how the timing piece actually works counterclockwise, and we're going to get into this study with a dawn day start. So as you can see, I am utilizing an app to prove a point. It's lunar phases and called an astronomical clock. And as you can see, I am narrating this video at 1:46 p.m. on the pagan day of December 7th, 2022, which is the 30th day of the 8th month on the celestial clock and calendar of Yahuwah. So let's say for a moment we change our perspective. We look down on the earth, because our perspective today is looking up from the earth at the sun, moon, and stars. But if we look down From Hanok's perspective, remember, Hanok was brought up into various levels of the heavens to learn how the sun, moon, and stars on the celestial clock and calendar of YaHUaH actually works. So does it move clockwise or counterclockwise from this vantage point? So as you can see, and it's moving quite fast, we're now into 2023, there's February, it has pagan months obviously, but the point is, the celestial clock and calendar of YaHUaH from the heavens is a clockwise motion. On earth, we see it from a counterclockwise motion. Okay, here's another app, and it's called Flat Earth Pro, and if you want to use it on a PC, you'll need a transfer program called BlueStacks to take that mobile app here and put it on a PC format. Anyways, take a look at something else. Two things to be exact. Number one, this is what's called a two-dimensional view. It's not a three-dimensional view. So even though it brings us to a whole new level of perspective, the vantage point is still only two-dimensional only. So notice something else. Number two, does the sun set and does the sun rise from Hanok's vantage point? It does not. And if you say it does, then you are creating other challenges. And this is why the land of the sunset and the land of the sunrise, the prophet Zechariah says, we will be removed from. Because at the end of the day, this Babylonian and Egyptian approach removes us from the perspective that YaHUaH wants us to see as it relates with his timing piece. Now, some of you are saying, well, that's an app, Michael. What about in the real world? Well, you can do what's called the clock test. Yes, the clock test is very simple to do. Get a simple clock to prove all things right here. And as you can see, the movement with the second hand, minute hand, and hour hand is moving clockwise. Now, it's two-dimensional. And what happens if we flipped it up like this and went under that clock? Well, there's a test called, you take the moon, and this is a lacrosse ball, and it's moving in a clockwise fashion. But if you go under that clock, like I'm doing now, that ball looks like it's moving counterclockwise. It's all about perspective in your vantage point. So we see the celestial clock from the earth from a counterclockwise standpoint. But from the heavens, it is seen in a motion clockwise. So now, this is why the Scriptures is heavily laden with witnesses for a dawn day start. From the perspective of Hanok in the heavens, or YaHUaH, you would not see a sunrise and or a sunset. You would see the dawn and how the light comes in to, or first light, into specific areas. And this is why the Scriptures refer to the dawn or first light as a true scriptural day start. And hopefully the clock test explained why it's not, from our vantage point on earth, a clockwise motion, but rather a counterclockwise motion. This helps to understand some of the conflicts that are being presented today. It's just perspective. And as a result, to manage the controversy, you have to get away from the jigs. You have to be more empirical. So, again, nothing personal, no judgment. Use the sun, moon, and stars as they were designed by the designer. Let alone understand the perspective from the face of the earth, let alone from the perspective that Hanok was allowed to see to teach us to further number our days with the sun, moon, and stars with a scriptural day start. Not this. So, 1 point perspective. So, part of my upbringing after high school, I went to college for architectural drafting. And they taught you vantage point or 1 point perspective, high vantage views when you drew something. So again, it's all about perspective. And this is how Hanok was trained. He was trained to see the bigger picture over and above what we perceive to see. So there are 3 dimensions, actually 4 dimensions, and it starts off with the 0 dimensions. A 0-dimension view is something like this. It starts with a pagan type of calendar, squared calendar, and what we do as humans, nothing wrong. It's baby steps. This is how we learn. And we put phases of the moon with no regard to where the sun was in that position, let alone how the moon ruled with the stars. It's a 0-dimension view. And then we progress to other views like this because our understanding grows. And thus proves why we're not judging anyone. This is just baby steps. It's an evolution of coming out of this world and having your perspectives truly at the vantage point of all things that are possible. So this is called a 0-dimension view in the circles that study the sun, moon, and stars. Then you get a 1-dimension view, and it's called syzygy. And it's from the Greek term conjunction, or yoked together. And it's horizontal. And as you know, the Babylonian calendar was a lunisolar calendar with years consisting of 12 lunar months. And again, you won't see the stars in this 1-dimensional view. It's horizontal. You're not getting the full perspective. That was transferred over to the conjunction moon view, which is 1-dimensional again, let alone to some full moon believers. Again, 1-dimensional. And it comes with obelisks and, as you can see, sundials, all of which are going to be removed in time. So we're at peace. But the good news is you can see the progression. 2-dimensional views are when people use things like stellarium. Now they're getting into the 3 witnesses of light. The baby steps are growing to the point where you might not be stepping just little steps anymore. You may be jogging. And now you're understanding the position where the moon is, the night before New Moon Day, the position where the sun is, and how the moon rules with specific individual stars on each and every individual month. And you're starting to go towards a 3-dimensional view. Still 2-dimensional, and it's a huge step in the right direction because you can take the scriptural stars now, let alone others, and understand how this timing piece works even further than a 0-dimensional view. Now, from there you move to what's called a 3-dimensional view, and welcome to Hanok. His journey through the heavens was 3-dimensional. And he was looking down upon the face of the earth. Not up from the face of the earth, he was looking down upon it, and he was seeing the sun, moon, and stars on how YaHUaH designed them face front. So it's baby steps. It's something that we all learn. Something else. A normal day in the British Empire, what was the saying? The sun never sets or rises on the British Empire at its heyday, when it was spread out across the earth. So these are just basic things that anyone can know. And I had the opportunity through my professional career in life. I traveled quite extensively intercontinentally. So from continent to continent, I could fly for 17 hours and never see the night. I could see the dawn, I could see first light, but I would never see a sunrise or a sunset. These are basic, empirical, absolute truths that exist. Now you can deny them with a 0-dimensional view or even a 1-dimensional view and even a 2-dimensional view. But when it comes to Hanok's 3-dimensional view, it's undeniable. Again, you can ignore it, which the world does. We count on it. So this 3-dimensional view, here's another app. And this is going to be tested and proved tomorrow at the dawn. My day start will be 5:57, the true scriptural day start. And by sunrise, that's what it'll look like. Now, my body is facing the north, or the North Star. My head is facing, my back of my head is facing the south. I'm going to go outside and do a little clip on a video to explain why all of our stellarium views are with a north-pointed direction. So, as promised, here we are outside, and behind me, my head is pointing south. The back of my head is pointing south. There is the North Star straight up above. When we do our scriptural study videos outside, this is where we do them, and then we usually go to the waterfront. Over to my right is the east, and to my left, the west, obviously. So why is this so important? Well, if I turn around and face the south, I miss Ursa Major. I don't see it all. So this is why all of our stellarium views are pointing north, showing the counterclockwise movement of Ursa Major around the North Star in 23 hours, 56 minutes and 4.09 seconds, which I can measure in intervals every 15 minutes and so forth, which we will explain in the scriptural study video. So what I usually do is I get a chair and I get nice and comfortable and I sit back and I look up, and as I see the moon in a counterclockwise fashion move behind me, I see the stars moving in a counterclockwise fashion, and I see the whole picture on how the moon rules with the stars as per Psalms 136 verse 9. That's the reason why. So this is why baby steps, that evolution of learning coming out of this world in full, will lead you to a three-dimensional view where you will be interested in the other writings of Hanok as it related to portals, how the moon moved into its portals in regards to the movement of degrees and the stars it was associated to rule with in that particular first day of any given scriptural month and then subsequent months after. So again, I will be going outside in all four watches, and this watch from a three-dimensional view is the start of the fourth watch, the dawn, 5:57 a.m. for my area, on the pagan day of Thursday, December 8th, which will be the first day of the 9th month. So looking forward to do that all the way to the sunrise, and my sunrise will be at 7:41 a.m. from a three-dimensional view, and I will see the moon and the sun and the stars it's ruling with, associated to. And this three-dimensional view shows that there's no sunrise or sunset, moonrise or moonset. It's a three-dimensional view, which really brings the scriptures to life on why they say what they say. And as a result, managing controversy is very easy when you utilize all of the witnesses of light. So that is a very brief, believe it or not, view on Yahuwah's thoughts, the study of etymology on those words, let alone as compared to our perspective and our perspectives. So what does it mean to be steadfast? Let's move on. As it relates to these two scriptural verses. Again, what does it mean to be steadfast as it relates to the moon, let alone the sun, let alone the stars? But when we get into this verse with the moon, we learn that this word is from the entry of Strong's 0539. Amen. To support, confirm, be loyal. To support, confirm, be loyal, uphold, nourish. Substantive, meaning reality. Something you can test and prove. Something that is real. And it's established forever. So much for the proposals and theories of humankind and the manifest movement saying this clock is not right. It's going to change to a 360 very soon. No, the sun, moon, and stars were established forever, and this witness, like the moon, is steadfast. Selah. It goes on further to define in the Brown Driver Briggs Hebrew and English lexicon, pillars. Yes, the moon is a light on a lampstand for all in the house to see, and you don't get that view either at sunrise or sunsets. It's to be established forever, to be loyal, be carried, make firm. And we know it's solar powered. It's being nursed. It's established, verified, confirmed, moving further into the Brown, Driver, Briggs, Hebrew, English, Lexicon. Confirmed, established, sure, verified, confirmed, reliable, loyal, to trust, to believe. Have you noticed that people that say that the moon is steadfast, and even full moon believers, well, we got to wait for the conjunction to find out if it was really the full moon. Or we got to wait for the 22nd day because, it could be a surprise. Yahuwah might pull a fast one on us. No, it's steadfast. It does what it does with Hanok's waning after the full moon, and then when it waxes to a fully restored moon, it's steadfast. It does the same thing over and over, month after month, year after year. That's if you believe. Just like the theological word book of the Old Testament states, to confirm, support, uphold, to be certain. And you've noticed people that number their days, they're not certain. They're going outside, I don't know, it could be this, it could be that. No, it's certain if you follow the writings of Scripture up to and including the writings of Hanok with the waning phases and the waxing phases, as we've covered in the previous 2 scriptural study videos. Jeff Benner's Ancient Hebrew Lexicon definitions. You get into the mem and the nun. The pictograph of the mem is a picture of water or other liquids such as blood. The nun is a picture of a seed representing continuance. Combined, these mean blood continues. So, what does that all mean? Well, don't find it ironic or coincidental that the word is a lamp. Yes, the Messiah YaHuaH is a lamp. And a lamp, as we know, reflects light. Is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. For the esteem of Yahuwah lightened it, and the Lamb is its lamp. Now that's what the Scriptures say. I know there's a lot of controversy, but we are going to stick with the perspective of the Scriptures from both vantage points, looking up from the earth, from the face of the earth, to that light on the lampstand, and as well Hanok's perspective looking down from the heavens on what it actually shows. Remember, in the book of 1 YaHuaH, or John chapter 5, verse 7 or 8, because there are 3 who bear witness, the Spirit and the water and the blood, and the 3 are in agreement. Are you seeing the parallels with the etymology? The picture M, the mem, is a picture of water, other liquids such as blood, so think about it. The heavens, the Shamayim, the ether, the water in the heavens, the Messiah YaHuaH, the Lamb, the blood of the Lamb. Again, this etymology, as it relates to the sun, moon, and stars, as it relates to who the true Messiah is, let alone why the greater light, Yahuwah, the Father of lights, the only self-existent one, explains why the lesser light was the firstborn of all creation. More on this as we go forward. So again, people do not like to hear this because the Roman Catholic Church, the beast, and their Trinity. The Father is the Son is the Father, the Spirit is the Father, the Spirit is the Son. It's over and over and over again. It makes you want to gag. But at the end of the day, it filters down in all world religions where deities can be one. And it excuses reality from an empirical astronomical standpoint, let alone a basic scriptural understanding of who the Father is, let alone why the Son is the firstborn of all creation. Remember, the greater light, the Father of lights, Yahuwah himself, is the only self-existent one. YaHuaH, the lesser light, is the firstborn of all creation. Don't let the Catholic Church get a hold of you, let alone with their 360-day deception hoax. And it's baked in everywhere, as you can see, into 360-day merchant calendar systems that exist today and will exist further if you're keeping pace with what's going on, and with a Sunday sunrise Easter celebration where they all bow down at the ocean and waterfronts. It is what it is, right? So again, steadfast is huge. People use it as a placeholder, but they don't explore it, and we're only touching the tip of the iceberg as it relates to this. Let's take a look at the words appointed times and the sun knows it's going down as it relates to perspective. Entrance, coming in, entering. Remember, the sun does not rise or set. At the dawn, it enters a portal, Hanok's portals. And if you've read anything about that, you'd understand why the moon rules with the stars. And on the first day of any given scriptural month, it moves into the house of certain stars that give us a sign to tell us which month we're in. Welcome to the portals of Hanok and the appointed times. Even the Jeff Benner Paleo-Hebrew states that the Aleph and the Bet, the filling of an empty space, the portals. Again, if you're looking at sunrise and sunsets, you miss all of this. And we're not judging anybody. That's your perspective. That's all you know. That's all you're looking at. That's what you're going to come to the conclusion with. So welcome to the portals of Hanok. When you'll see this actual scriptural verse from the Psalms 104:19. The sun knows it's going into the portals. It knows where it's going to enter on any given month, and it knows which light's going to come upon it. The theological word book of the Old Testament, enter a house. Yes, the light is a lampstand for all in the house to see. So that's page 93 of that. And from the primitive root 935, or what we like to say, parental root. So yes, indeed, vantage point. It's all about understanding the phases of the moon and how the steadfastness of how the phases of the moon actually work with Hanok's fully restored moon, the day after into the waning phases, 15 of them, yes, 15 of them, and then 13 waxing phases, which are just steadfast. And we are learning the portals that the sun, moon operate in. So when the moon enters a portal, then the sun enters that assigned portal for each and every given scriptural month. So we are working on that scriptural study now, and from two vantage points, from the face of the earth, and yes, from Hanok's vantage point, from the heavens. And for the record, and as always, we do not use the man-made Mazzaroth. We use the scriptural stars that are written in Scripture, plus stars that can be seen, meaning filmed and photographed, with the proper magnitude, and more to follow on that. So yes, indeed, from all vantage points, from all perspectives, baby steps. This is a three-dimensional view. I'm not great at three-dimensional views on computers. I do need help with that. Anybody out there that can give us that assistance, that would be great. All the way down to two-dimensional views in the counterclockwise perspective from the face of the earth, from that vantage point. And again, this is why Zechariah stated empirically from an astronomical standpoint why we will be saved from the mindsets of sunrise and sunset approaches. Do you not know that a little leaven leavens the whole lump? And why the Apostle Shaul went on further to say about the esteem, the purpose, the value of the sun, moon, and stars with a dawn day start. Again, we do not need obelisks or sundials to be looking down. We need to be looking up, and don't let any of the Babylonian deities get into your mindset. Again, crescent moon, again, one-dimensional, one-witness approach, if you will, all the way to what exists today in some other locations. And it's bigger than that, right? Again, my eyes have gone before the night watches to study your word. There are reasons why the psalmist had written that down. Because he made the moon for appointed times, the sun knows it's going into its proper entrance. And each given month, when the moon goes in to a first day scenario of any scriptural month, the sun is doing something opposite. And this is why we also utilize the scriptural stars. Remember, 1 Chronicles chapter 16, verse 30, has fixed the earth firm, immovable. Psalm 93:1, thou hast fixed the earth immovable and firm. Psalm 96, verse 10, he has fixed the earth firm, immovable. Psalm 104, verse 5, thou didst fix the earth on its foundation so that it never can be shaken. Praise him, sun and moon. Praise him, all you stars of light. Praise him, heavens of the heavens, and you waters above the heavens. The consistency and steadfastness of the etymology is even amazing. So, this was the two-dimensional view from looking from above, the Hanok view that we do as well. And this is when the moon's at the 180 degree mark and the sun is closest to the 0 degree mark. This is for my area. And it's the first day of the first month of Abib, that night before. And it's not to scale, obviously. This is my best attempt to get all the perspectives. So what do we do with this? Well, we actually can track, as I said, with our fingers, where all of these stars are going to be. So Ash was at the 180 mark at 174 degrees when that moon was at the 180 at 1:44 a.m. The sun at 1:44 a.m. was in Singapore, and it didn't set, didn't rise. It was there. And 7 degrees was its position in that portal with the set of stars, with Hamal, the middle star. Again, we do not follow the man-made Mazzaroth. So the center star of Aries is Hamal, the lamb, the blood. So here's the moon, and it's at 180 degrees to true north, and we knew the height of it as well. And Abib was at 191 degrees, Ash 174, and that star right there on Ursa Major was at 319 degrees. You can track all of this. You can track all of this. Now, everyone in the southern hemiplane obviously would not have seen Ursa Major, but they would see Ash or Arcturus, and they would see Spica and other scriptural stars as well. Remember, Kodesh, new moon, month, restored, renewed. Kasa, covering, white covering. We're looking for the white robe. So that's that. If you go 6 months later, it switches. Now the moon is with the lamb, Aries, right there. And the sun is now with Spica, and you can measure all of this in degrees. So we are going to nail down the portals of Hanok for each and every given month in degrees as well, that anyone can measure with their hands. And of course, this falls totally in line with Hanok's other writings, chapter 79, verse 4, which takes place in the first portal in its season, Abib, till 177 days are accomplished, reckoned according to weeks, 25 and 2 days. 25 weeks and 2 days, up till the first day of the 7th month, which is Psalm 81, verse 3, blow the ram's horn at the new moon, at the full moon on our festival day. Portals. Hanok wrote about them. It's very easy to do and very easy to understand visually from the first day of the first month of Abib all the way 6 months later, 177 days later, to the first day of the 7th month of Yom Teruah, trumpets. Again, one esteem of the sun and another esteem of the moon and another esteem of the stars, for star differs from star in esteem. Ingenious work to be reckoned, to be accounted. It's a machine to be esteemed, valued, and regarded. Let's move away from the vicious cycle of jesting and disproving what actually exists to the virtuous cycle, learning from the etymological and scriptural standpoint over and above the astronomical empirical facts. The virtuous cycle. So, what does it mean to be steadfast? Many things, and many value-added things, if one wants to change their perspective from what world religions have regrettably taught them. So let's do a little bit more testing and proving with the sun, moon, and stars as it relates to all of this. And again, you can forecast from the past, you can forecast today, you can forecast the future, and you can get outside and verify all of this with a camera to do photograph and film footage now, can't you? There are 7 witnesses, and as it relates to the sun, moon, and stars, that anyone can measure, account, reckon. It's an ingenious device. So we use the scriptural stars and others, as everyone knows, as we get pictures of them. And we all know that this is right from timeanddate.com. Once you've figured out how to create an imaginary clock in the sky, you need to do some calendrical calculations and very basic math. To tell time, look at where the hour hand points to. I showed the star from Ursa Major that points to the North Star. This is around the 180 mark, 180 degree mark, a little after midnight for my time zone. To tell time, look at where the hour hand points to in relation to the reference line. Remember, each 15 degree movement looks like that on your hands, corresponds with the passing of 1 hour. Now look at the calendar for the date. So again, very basic math, and anyone can do it. Grab that chair like I just shared with you, having your head pointing south, seeing everything move in a counterclockwise fashion, watching Ursa Major, and then the other scriptural stars, Abib, Arcturus, Orion, Pleiades, and other scriptural stars that, with the proper magnitude that can be filmed and photographed. So here's Stellarium. Tonight at sunset. This is the sunset. And the moon will greet the sun at sunset for my area. Doesn't do that all the time the night before New Moon Day everywhere. Some places it will, some places it doesn't. Don't hang your hat on this one witness. Regrettably, some do. The moon will be at sunset at 16:39 military time. It'll be at 59 degrees to true north. It'll be 3 degrees above the horizon. 3 degrees. And it'll be 99.9% renewed. And around the first watch, getting into there, around 1918 military time, Orion will be there, Pleiades, Hamal. You won't see Spica and Arcturus. It'll be below. Remember, they're opposite. That's why it's a clock. Ursa Major will be in this position, and that star will be pointing to the North Star. So there you go, a little glimpse of the first watch. Getting into the second and third watch, when that moon's at the 180 degree mark, there's Ursa Major. And then as you can see, Hamal, Orion will be up here and Pleiades will be over here. And the second to third watch, when the moon's 180 and the sun is actually 7 degrees to true north, very, very tight. And here we are at the dawn, first light, the true start of a scriptural day start, first day of the 9th month on the pagan day, Thursday, December 8th, 2022. And there's Orion still with the moon. And as you can see, Pleiades right there. And then the Lamb, the morning star below the horizon, not being able to be seen. And now Ursa Major with its two suns opposite to those stars. It's a clock. And there are other stars with Betelgeuse, Capella. There are other stars that the moon is housed with for a first day, 9th month celestial event. So again, anybody can do this. It's simple. Turn your atmosphere on. We keep sharing with people. And this is why Orion will still be seen. But Pleiades, if you have any tree lines, building lines, live in a valley, mountains, etc., it will be lost for you to see. And the moon at the dawn in my area, as you can see here, will be 285 degrees to true north and 21 degrees. The light on a lampstand. Doesn't matter if you live in valleys, treated areas, towers, you will see the light on the lampstand for all in the house to see. But if you wait for sunrise, you won't see the stars that the moon is ruling with, and if there's any building lines or whatever, you're toast on a bun. If you live in a valley, building lines, mountains, tree lines, it's over. And thus the reason why the perspective of Hanok is so value added. But mankind being who we are, humankind, we follow what the Babylonians and the Egyptians do until this very day. Again, and with all due respect, this has nothing to do with my opinion. The historical and archaeological evidence on what is being done is where it is. So that's the steadfast stars. We're going to get into the steadfast moon at 180 degrees and why this is so steadfast. So here we are from the 5th to the 6th month in this cycle that has already been tested and proven, verified, if you will. And on the 5th month, it happened on the pagan day of Friday, August 12th. And then there is the subsequent Sabbaths in gray. And then the following new moon day, the 6th new moon day, was on the pagan day of Saturday, the 10th of September. So why is the 180 mark so important? Well, on timeanddate.com, it tracks the steadfastness of the illumination of the moon. And here it is for each and every day. Notice the intervals. If you took the total days divided by the total days, 0.5. You get a change from day to day on illumination of 0.5. Look at all the rest of the countries, 0.5. So that's the 5th to the 6th month. Look at the 6th to the 7th month. The 7th month, as we know, occurred on the pagan day of Monday, October 10th. And as we know, there is the steadfast witness of illumination, a restored full moon. And for every other country, and take a look, 0.5. Steadfast. Look at the 7th to the 8th month. If you go up here we are, all the way to the 8th month, which happened on the pagan day of Tuesday, November 8th, first day of the 8th month, which was a lunar eclipse, which the world denied. No surprise there. And if you take a look at the steadfastness, again, 0.5, like the rest of the countries, a fully restored moon for each of those new moon days, which is being ignored. And we get that. We're at peace with that. That's what the world does. So that's the 7th to the 8th month. Take a look at the 8th to the 9th month. Well, here we are coming into the 9th month, which is going to be on the pagan day of Thursday, as we can see, December 8th. Restored moon again. There it is. And 0.5, the difference in every given day for all of the countries. Restored moon for everybody, and a 0.5 if you number your days from new moon to new moon and from Sabbath to Sabbath. Steadfastness. Some people talk about the moon being steadfast, but they don't provide the evidence. Here's a little bit more. Check this out. The upcoming 10th month will occur on the pagan day of Saturday, all the way to January 7th, right there. Steadfastness. Highest point of illumination, restored, 0.5 for all countries. So again, steadfastness. We are not interested in jesting and disproving what actually exists anymore. We forecast, go outside, test, and prove it with film and photograph footage. The 180-degree witness is fabulous. It shows so much if you understand the vantage point that it has been given to us from, especially from Hanok's writings. Let's get into what's called the steadfast analemma. So again, if you do indeed number your days with all of this evidence of light, from new moon to new moon, boom, boom, and Sabbath to Sabbath in the gray, wondrous things actually occur. You learn a lot. If we just focus on the sun, the dawn, first light, and then sunrise and sunset, and in between that particular time period, around the high noon time period, we get what's called an analemma. And in astronomy, an analemma is a diagram showing the position of the sun in the sky as seen from a fixed location on Earth, the perspective from Earth, at the same time or mean or average solar time. So if you went out at noon every day, for every day in the year, you would create a figure 8. And it is steadfast. So we also do this as well, because we have a respect for the gifts of light that Yahuwah has been bestowed upon us. This helps us understand the 4 divisions of the year from the book of Jubilees, and why the new moon of the first month is a day of remembrance, well after the spring equinox. Well after the summer solstice, why the first day of the 4th month, or new moon, is a day of remembrance. And well after the fall equinox, the first day of the 7th month is a day of remembrance. And then finally, after the winter solstice, the first day of the 10th month. All of this is for a reason empirically, and why Hanok's writings align to this as well. So at the start of the year, 6 months later, from the first day of the first month to the first day of the 7th month, the 177-day count, 25 weeks plus 2 days. So this is the value that you get out of understanding numbering your days with all the witnesses of light. In a 365.25 solar day year, as Hanok had wrote about, and why the sun and the stars produce 364 days, as we share with Ursa Major, and then why the lunar cycle on its own is a 354-day cycle, unless you're in a 13th month year, which we are. As we move forward, that is the steadfast analemma. Let's now talk about the steadfast restored light and why YaHuwah provides equal light to one and all. Let's get into that. So here we are, the night before New Moon Day for the first day of the 9th month. And as you can see in these locations, Barrie, Jerusalem, Anaheim, Memphis, Tennessee, the moon will greet the sun at sunrise, but it won't in Cape Town, South Africa, or Perth, Australia. But if you use the dawn day start, everyone has the full restored moon scenario and the light on a lampstand for all in the house to see, thus aligning us all. And not only that, everyone gets 11 hours exactly of full illuminated light. So that's steadfastness, another example of it. Furthermore, understanding the difference of the moon with its steadfastness of a first-day celestial event as compared to a second-day celestial event helps you get out of some of those jams with some of those folks still practicing sunrise and sunset non-scriptural day start scenarios. So again, the moon in Anaheim, the PDT, will be at 6 degrees, like anywhere from the 0 mark to the 6 or 8 degree mark. That's a first day celestial event. This is why Thursday, December 8th, even there. It'll be 5.3 in the CST time zone, in this case Memphis, 5.3. And as you noticed, their average for a first day can be as low as 0 or just below to a high of 7.6. A second day is in the teens. So we know from anywhere from a low of 9.5 all the way to a high of 17.2. It'll be 15.1 here tomorrow for them. And I've already talked about my area. My area will be 5.3 tomorrow. The following day after New Moon Day, 13.8 on Friday, December 9th. So we know tomorrow is a first day celestial event for the 9th month. And we track even 2021. We track every year. Why? Because we wanted to learn why the moon is steadfast from a first day versus a second day. Pretty basic. Again, depending on your perspective. So, that's that. Let's talk about the steadfast waning and waxing illumination. So if you go through all of this, a first day event, a celestial event, Hanok stated in chapter 78, was a fully restored moon. And when the sun and its first light dawn rose upon that moon, we knew it was ruling with a set of stars, all three witnesses in play. And, you went from there. And then after that day, you'd have 15 days of waning and then the 13 days of waxing, which are upon us here now, and why, again, the pagan day of Thursday, December 8th, will be New Moon Day. Again, understanding when the moon rises and when the moon sets with the light and the stars that it rules with, you can actually tell which month you're in. Most people discount this witness, but it's real easy to do. You can copy and paste moon set and moonrise times from any given year, any given month, any given country from diamonddate.com and compare them. From country to country, there's only a 10-degree variance. So each month has a different moonrise and moon set. and you can actually track that. So if you did get hit in the head with the bat, heaven forbid, and were in a coma for 7 months and didn't know which month you woke up in, just going outside and seeing where the moon, and again, it doesn't rise, it doesn't set, just seeing where that moon is will tell you which month you're in. But that takes some practice as well, and it's a lot of work, and people regrettably are Laodicean. So that's the steadfast moonrise and moonset witness. And the final one is the portals, and we're working on that now. We've had the first 6 months done for many years. It's the final 6 months with a 13th month scenario that I haven't nailed down in degrees. Now, truth be known, I haven't done that either in degrees for the first 6 months. I am comfortable with the set of stars scripturally over and above scriptural stars as well. But there's another Berean out there that has increased my perspective as a result of looking at all of the witnesses from both above, looking down to the face of the earth, let alone looking up from the face of the earth. So that study is soon to follow, Yahuwah willing. So again, the heavens are proclaiming the esteem of the Almighty Father of lights, and the expanse is declaring the work of his hand. Day to day pours forth speech, and night to night reveals knowledge. Remember, when Mishlei, or truth, Proverbs chapter 18, verse 2, states, "A fool does not delight in understanding," it's not saying the person's an idiot or is lacking any intelligence. All it's saying is the individual does not see this as value added. That's all it's saying. And we were in that position long ago as well. We did not wait upon Yahuwah with all of his witnesses of light. To get out of the Laodicean mindset, be lazy if you will. We started learning this clock and calendar with all of it without airing our opinions. Just let Yahuwah teach us to number our days with all of his witnesses of light. And as a result, we got away from the 22nd day cults of shadows and darkness. I think it's going to be a 30-day month. I think it's going to be a 29-day month. You can know well in advance because the moon is steadfast along with the sun and the stars. So every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no change nor shadow of turning. So again, this 22nd day thing, it was fun for a while, but it ran its course well after we did our homework years ago with the waning phase and the waxing phase. And you know why well in advance of each and every new moon day, regardless if the moon is going to greet the sun at sunrise, as we've shared already. Because pride is concerned with who is right. Humility is concerned with what is right. And as such, why Bereans believe all of the witnesses from Yahuwah of light are wonders, and why our being observes them. Should not the witnesses of light unite? Of course. But some people will stick to certain paradigms for now, and they will either unconsciously divide everyone on earth, and in time, they will move away from that. Now, there are going to be some people that'll stay stiff-necked and stubborn, and it is what it is, right? All truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. And third, it is accepted as being self-evident. Again, we don't struggle with the flesh. We don't have to. We can take the challenge back to the principalities, these world religions that have produced these paradigms, false paradigms. So very easy to do. And we do the work also out of respect, honor, and joy, and thankfulness and appreciation for the gifts of light that the Father of lights provides, including the dawn day start. So very basic to prove. And some people say, well, Michael, isn't this a jig? You've got the light starting and then darkness in the middle and then the light. Well, again, the moon starts with light and finishes with light. It's almost like the journey of life. We are born into this world innocent, and then we adopt, regrettably, some of the traditions of humankind, go into the darkness, and then we start to wake up with a little bit of diligence, and we come back to the light. So, does this jig show a counterclockwise or clockwise? Well, depending on your perception. This particular view is from the perception or perspective of looking from the heavens as Hanok seen it down, clockwise. Just like the 7th month view is as well. So, what came first, the darkness or the light? Every week we get texts, emails of this question. So we answer it now by saying this: you first. No, you, I insist. Did the chicken come first or the egg, right? Well, I'm going to read a couple scriptural passages because they're profound as it relates to the greater light, the Father, and the lesser light, the firstborn of all creation, the Son, Messiah, YaHushua. And we read them in 1 YaHuaH in John chapter 1, verses 4 through 8. And we write this to you in order that your joy might be complete. And this is the message which we have heard from him and announced to you, that Yahuwah is light, and in him there is no darkness at all. It always started with light. Before the creation of the world, before the creation of his firstborn son, Yahuwah was light. That's the perspective from looking from above down on the face of the earth. And this is why folks struggle. Well, no, it started with darkness. It never did start with darkness, now did it? If we say that we have fellowship with him and walk in darkness, we lie and are not doing the truth. So these folks trying to figure out, scrambling on the 22nd day if they can see a quarter moon, which is actually closer to a half moon, there's no darkness. You're looking ahead to the light. You know the 15 parts of waxing. You know the 15 parts of waning. You know the 13 parts of waxing, as Hanok stated, from his vantage point from above. But people from the face of the earth with one perspective only walk in darkness sometimes. But if we walk in the light, as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Yahushua Messiah, his son, cleanses us from all sin. If we say that we have not sinned, we are misleading ourselves, and the truth is not in us. I'm a wretched man. I'm not a teacher. I have no abilities to prophesy. I'm a Berean that is very diligent and does his work. In regards to working out my own deliverance, I have no abilities or powers to help anybody else. I do scriptural studies in words, names, and the law, which includes the calendar. That's it. So, a little bit more here. Psalmist stated, he calls out to me, you are my Father, my Almighty One, the Father of lights, and the rock of my deliverance. I also appoint him firstborn. Well, when you're learning about the greater light, the sun, and the lesser light, the moon, you start to understand why the Son, the Messiah Yahushua, called his Father greater. Because the Father, the greater light, is self-existent. He wasn't born, he always existed. But the Messiah Yahushua, the lesser light, was the firstborn of all creation. He was appointed firstborn. Highest of sovereigns of the earth, I guard my kindness for him forever, and my covenant promise is steadfast with the Messiah Yahushua, his firstborn of all creation. So again, Colossians, the Apostle Shaul, chapter 1, verse 15, firstborn of all creation. John, chapter 1, verses 1 through 9. In the beginning was the Word, Yahushua Messiah. And the Word was with the Almighty Father of lights, Yahuwah, the self-existent one. And the Word was Almighty, singular. Yahushua is Almighty, was Almighty. He was in the beginning with the Almighty Father of lights, before the creation and foundation of the earth. He was the firstborn of all creation, and together from Genesis chapter 1, as Elohim, plural, they created the heavens and the earth. So he was with Yahuwah, the only self-existent one, and all came to be through him, the Messiah Yahushua, and without him not even one came to be that came to be. So Hanok had this vantage point because if you read chapters 46, or verses 1 through 6, you'll start to see, there I beheld the Ancients of Days, Yahuwah. He's up in the heavens, and he's seeing all this, whose head was like white wool, and with him another, whose countenance resembled that of a man. The firstborn of all creation is not Yahuwah. Yahuwah created Yahushua, his son. And Yahushua and his countenance was full of favor, like that of one of the set-apart messengers. Then I inquired of one of the messengers. Yes, was Hanok asked questions. Who went with me, and who showed me every secret thing concerning the Son of Man, who he was, whence he was, and why he accompanied the Ancient of Days. The messenger answered to him and said to Hanok, this is the Son of Man, to whom righteousness belongs, with whom righteousness has dwelt, and who will reveal all the treasures of that which is concealed. For the Almighty Father of lights of spirits has chosen him, and his portion is surpassed all before the Almighty Father of lights of spirits in everlasting uprightness. Please read verses 3 through 6. Stop the video now. It's amazing. Then read chapter 48, verses 2 through 11. And at that hour that the Son of Man was named in the presence of the Almighty Father of lights of the spirits, and his name before the one YaHuwah, to whom belongs the time before time. Yes, before the sun and the signs were created, before the stars of the heavens were made, his name was named before the Almighty Father of lights of the spirits. Again, and shall be the light of the Gentiles and the hope of those who are troubled of heart. So if you understand Genesis 1, John chapter 1, he was in the beginning. He was the firstborn of all creation, and then the Father and the Son, if you read the rest of Scripture, created the heavens and the earth, which includes the sun, moon, and stars. Please stop the video now, read the rest of this. Hanok was the one. Before we learned anything with the calendar, we learned the name YAHsome, the one who cried out to his Father for deliverance, the greater light. Hanok helped us with that. And then years later, the calendar came. So, again, it's really basic stuff, right? For the esteem of Yahuwah lightened it, and the Lamb is its lamp. Your word, the Messiah Yahushua, is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. The psalmist knew this, and Yahuwah knew this as well, because there are three who bear witness, the Spirit, the water, and the blood, and the three are in agreement, just like the sun, moon, and stars are. And this is why in Revelation chapter 21, verses 22-23, and I saw no dwelling place in it, for Yahuwah, El Shaddai, is its dwelling place, and the Lamb. And the city had no need of the sun nor of the moon. Why? Because the esteem of the Almighty Yahuwah lightened it, and the Lamb is its lamp, the reflector of that greater light. But when you've got a one-dimensional view, whether it's crescent, conjunction, full moon, you may miss some of these things. So again, zero dimension starts off with there. It's baby steps. We all go through it. It's not a race. I'm not a teacher. There's so much more to learn. So the zero dimension view, boom, you start with the Roman Catholic template. That's why we say get rid of this dog, because it just does not hunt. And once you get out of that, you start thinking like this. We all have done it. We create these jigs, right? Zero dimension views. Get into the one dimension views, whether they're crescent, conjunction, or full moon. And you move on from the, sunrise and sunset, one-dimensional view. You start getting into the two-dimensional view with all three witnesses of light, sun, moon, and stars, but it's only two-dimensional view. Then you move on to the three-dimensional view, as we talked about, and that was the view that Hanok talked about. And the more we test and prove Hanok, the more this thing comes alive to a whole new dimension. And again, I'm still learning the three-dimensional views and its portals. It's baby steps. I'm not a teacher, just a Berean who is diligent at studying. So again, sunrise tomorrow, that's the view for me. New moon day, first day, 9th month. Pagan day, Thursday, December 8th, for everyone, everywhere. Because why? Yahuwah, the Father of lights, unites, while the world religions divide with sunset and sunrise day starts. It's presumptuous at best, and this is why we pray, palal earnestly, that as servants, that our Father of lights, Yahuwah himself, keeps us away from presumptuous ones, let alone the activity that we do, that it's never presumptuous. Because we don't want to rule over anyone, let alone have anyone rule over us other than the Father of lights. Remember, world religions divide and conquer, and this is why you still have a few people out there that are stiff-necked and hell-bent, not steadfast, stiff-necked, on saying, yeah, new moon days can be on different days and so can Sabbaths. No, doesn't happen with Yahuwah and his lights. But again, with discernment comes division, and it is what it is for now, right? So we do our very best to trust in Yahuwah with all our heart and to not lean on our own understanding, because when we did that, we had a jig mindset, and we're getting away from all that. So what's your perspective as compared to Yahuwah? How much more will we learn? So until next time, may the Father of lights, Yahuwah himself, the only self-existent one, be in everything we say and do, and may he guard us. And may he guard us in such a way that he continues to send us his only Son, the firstborn of all creation, YaHushua, our only teacher, as it states in Matith Yahu, chapter 23, verse 8. So until next time, Yahuwah willing, all the best in the name which is above all names.